Don't let him walk tonight, but his body isn't going to be perfect, but it's going to begin to grow. It's going to begin to straighten out. Do you believe me?
He instructed the mother to throw away his leg braces and have him walk a little bit every day in an act of faith.
Just like a baby learning how to walk. Take a step. That's it. Take another one, son. Take another one, baby. Come on.
For the next several days, the mother obeyed the man of God's instructions, but George's legs began to swell. They puffed up, and his ankles turned sideways, resulting in $7,500 in medical expenses, and that's $1956. Little George's doctor even stated that had he continued to walk without his braces, as Coe had commanded, permanent damage would certainly have resulted. Now, after this incident, Coe was arrested and charged with practicing medicine without a license, but he had money and connections. So immediately after posting bail, Coe continued his healing revival meetings where he claimed that his arrest was the work of the devil. In his sermons, he compared himself to Jesus and Elisha.
Jesus was practicing healing without license. That guy could be put in jail for practicing medicine without a license.
Playing the persecution card, he portrayed his upcoming trial as a constitutional issue, telling his followers that their freedom of religion itself was under attack.
If you oppose divine healing, you don't oppose Jack Coe, you oppose the work of the living God.
And appealing to them to protest his upcoming trial at the courthouse. That first night alone after his arrest, he raised over $6,000 in donations from his outraged supporters by telling them that this fight was so important that if they didn't have the money to give to him, they should borrow it. He also begged for support in his magazine, The Herald of Healing, and through his radio broadcast, he even urged his supporters to protest his arrest to the governor of Florida, Leroy Collins. Imagine having the audacity to severely and almost permanently injure a 3-year-old crippled boy who's known nothing but pain and polio his entire life, to lie to the child and his mother, to give him false hope, and then turn around and act like you're the victim when you're finally held accountable for your actions? But it worked! Other faith healers around the US flocked to his defense and twisted the narrative in every mass media outlet at their disposal. They descended on Miami, and at least 14 other evangelists testified at Coe's trial in his defense, while a mob of nearly 1,000 people picketed outside the courthouse for his release. During the trial, Coe was accused of hiring actors to pretend that they were healed, something which Aidan Taft's reporting in the Miami Herald had also alluded to with the case of the man who gave an address of an empty lot. But the prosecution lacked the smoking gun necessary to prove that claim, and eventually, pressured by such overwhelming protest, the judge dismissed the case on a religious loophole. If anything, Andrew Womack got off easy. A faith-healing pastor in Cameroon claimed that he could cure people with COVID by praying over them too. But unfortunately for him, he caught the virus and died. Franklin's followers, however, believed so firmly in his message of miracles that they refused to bury his body, waiting instead for a miraculous resurrection. Eventually, police had to be called in to push through the crowd and bury the body. And in case you think that prayers for resurrection are just an Africa thing, in 2019, the Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry, aka the Hogwarts of Christianity, where people are trained in the divine arts of prophecy, speaking in tongues, and miraculous healing, they made headlines when one of their worship leaders lost her 2-year-old daughter, and they all proceeded to attempt unsuccessfully to resurrect the child. Now, I have nothing but
He'll never come back.
We have a victims hotline where people call us with their stories, and the stories are endless of people who had loved ones die after they were proclaimed on television that they were healed.
Billionaire.
number
Be alive because through both of her lungs is cancer. The doctors are overwhelmed with the fact that she is still alive and still breathing.
Susan Morkey. Her oncologist rejected all these claims. Susan had an unpredictable form of cancer that was stable at the time of the crusade, but deteriorated afterwards, and Susan died 9 months later. Perfectly whole. Don't kill. Expect the miracle. Dear Jesus, the Lord's gonna touch you, young boy. I was gonna touch you, sweetheart.
It didn't happen. I was not even discouraged. I know it's God's plan.
We believe the regrowth of tumor has been dissolved completely.
This is not a rich family, yet they were persuaded by Benny Hinn's TV appeals to pledge $100 a month. In his presence, the urge to give was overwhelming.
You know, I can stake my life on Pastor Benny Hinn's words. God spoke to me last night at the Colosseum Center where the crusade was going on, and he said, donate him another $2,000, and which I'm going to do it.
7 weeks after the crusade, Ashnil Prakash was dead.
Triple kill!
Her daughter Jackie says Joyce too was persuaded to turn her back on her doctors.
One of the staff had told her she did not need her medicine anymore because Benny Hinn said she was healed.
What did her doctor say when she decided then that she was not going to have the chemotherapy?
He was very upset because she needed the chemo.
Joyce Vaughn died less than a year after she stood on stage with him.
Killing spree.
A man told me one day, he said, "You are better than P.T. Barnum." I said, "Oh, well, thank you."
A proud day for you and your family.
That's his house up there over my shoulder, overlooking the Pacific Ocean on some of the most expensive residential property in the U.S. We've consulted real estate agents, and they tell us that if that house went on the market today, the selling price would be about $10 million.
And the private jet the ministry leases for him, the presidential hotel suites, the reported 7-figure salary, and the picture emerges of a self-proclaimed spiritual leader with an obvious taste for the material world.
Has anyone really been...
Carol, Debbie, and Sherry. Carol is literally shaking with expectation. Her very life is on the line. Steve has entered a different state. It's the last 10 minutes of the last night, the time he believes he will walk again.
So, how did Todd fare?
Last night, Saturday night, I thought that was my life. But evidently it wasn't.
Carol went back to Georgia. When we last spoke, Debbie and Sherry told me her cancer had steadily been getting worse.
Even to this day,
And I died, had a heart attack and died, came out of my body. I died. And guess what? Got raised from the dead.
Now you listen here. It's not the Messiah. It's a brilliant naughty boy.
when ABC's primetime investigated the hype, however, here's what they found.
This boy's being healed of crippling spinal pivot out from birth in the name of Jesus. Loose. Straighten.
We're going to believe God that he is receiving healing. It was an emotional moment, and yes, I laid my hands on him and I said, thank you for what you're doing, God.
I feel like I am like the most strength I've ever had in my body.
Alex so desperately wants to be healed, yet here he is later that night as he stumbles to the ground.
Some healing is partial. Not everybody is healed.
How convenient.
Yeah.
And when they asked for some reason, never seemed to work in children's cancer wards.
I've seen legs grow out, I've seen cancers healed and blind eyes open and deaf ears open.
They love to talk themselves up, but what happens when you dig a little deeper? When you look behind the curtain? Let's take a look at a couple and see how their claims stand up to scrutiny. First up,
people raised from the dead.
And it's not like a faith healer would ever lie in order to maintain a lavish lifestyle.
What? No.
On the rare occasion that pastors do attempt to heal people with conditions like these, they fail spectacularly, so they typically try to avoid them. However, all the time, they do claim that they can cure cancer.
I curse this cancer.
AIDS.
You devil of AIDS, come out of them.
Arthritis.
Just shake off that arthritis.
Carpal tunnel.
I speak to everyone with carpal tunnel. Be healed now.
Back pain.
Back pain.
Neck and back problems.
Back pain. It is back.
Broken bones.
She had a broken toe before she came in this morning.
As long as they've already been reset back in place. Asthma.
God is gonna heal people from the spirit of asthma.
Someone to my right with asthma. You've just been healed.
Migraines.
Every migraine headache.
5 severe migraines.
Nearsightedness / partial blindness.
He's had degeneration in his left eye.
You were blind? Completely blind or what?
Like really impaired. I could only see close up.
Partial hearing loss, diabetes.
Diabetes.
Diarrhea.
You're not going to have diarrhea any longer.
Have mercy, Lord.
You are not going to have diarrhea any longer.
Acid reflux, mental disorders which they can blame on demons like depression and anxiety, poor memory.
And the Lord said tonight He's going to heal memory.
As long as it's not total memory loss, joint pain.
I've had lots of problems with my joints.
Snap, crackle, pop, bam!
Crusades ever since the road accident that left him brain damage 11 years ago.
Down syndrome, they can't regrow limbs, dwarfism, or gigantism. You will never see a faith healer come up to someone with microcephaly and successfully pray their head bigger. Cleft palates, total blindness, and I'm not just talking about bad eyesight where someone might be legally blind, but is simply visually impaired while still retaining perception of light and color. I'm talking about things like complete retinal detachment, end-stage glaucoma, or missing eyeballs.
In the authority of the name of Jesus, whose name is above every name named in heaven and earth, I come against this attack on your eyes.
Old and dying people are turning in desperation to the supernatural, flocking to spiritual leaders and faith healers, faithfully emptying their wallets in a last-ditch hope for a miraculous cure. But what if I told you that there are certain conditions which most faith healers will avoid like the plague? No pun intended. For example, you will never see a faith healer pray apart conjoined twins. Let's explore more of them though, and discover why they are the bane of faith healers, and see what else they will avoid at all cost. Growing up as an evangelical Christian missionary kid, I'm no stranger to the world of faith healing, and have even sought it out for myself many times. First as a Christian, because I thoroughly believed in it, and then later as an atheist to put faith healing claims to the test. Over the course of the last few months, I've been digging deeper, like super deep, into the world of faith healers. And after watching hundreds of hours of revivals, healing crusades, and street healings, and even attending some in person, and through sifting back through decades of newspaper archives, lawsuits, and even talking to people who were allegedly healed miraculously, I've started to see one pastor even had his congregants drink gasoline to demonstrate God's power.
How is it? There's a lot of fumes, but I don't have any side effect.
Now, not only are these multi-millionaire faith healers getting away with it, some of them are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, have media empires, and are extremely well connected in business and politics. Their positions are extreme and they need to be called out. And yet people ask me why I make these videos, as if wanting justice for the victims of these snakes isn't enough.
And then the last biggie, God's in you.